Good evening, everyone. I'm Riley King, and welcome to the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. Let's begin. First up, disaster drill held at Manchester Boston Regional Airport. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
In an airport hangar, the making of a disaster got underway.
It feels really gross. Ew.
About 80 people volunteering to serve as victims in the simulated incident.
I'm planning on being an EMT in the future or a paramedic, so I thought it would be fun to be on the patient side of the whole process.
Airport operations, airport units code 2, Airbus 220, landing 10 minutes, runway 6, respiratory. 82 souls on board, 1,400 gallons of fuel.
In the simulation, the airplane overshoots the runway and there is a small fire. In all, over 75 agencies were taking part in the live drill, which is required by the FAA every 3 years.
The overarching reason we do this is to ensure the public safety and that we do have an adequate incident command structure and that the first responders are familiar with operating on an airport. It's not like driving on a highway.
While the plane was really 2 school buses put together and covered, organizers say the inside mimics the cramped quarters of the Airbus 220, giving first responders a feeling for what that is like. The incident commander says with any kind of mass casualty event, the first few steps are critical.
Typically, you have to set up and start having people tracking where people are going and stuff like that. Otherwise, it just turns into chaos.
Once the drill is complete, the evaluation will begin almost immediately. And while they don't know what that will show, as the airport director put it, there's always room for improvement. In Manchester, Ray Brewer, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Police. New Hampshire woman turns herself in after fatal hit and run. Patricia Whitcomb tells troopers she believes she might have struck man, police say. A New Hampshire woman turned herself into police Wednesday in connection with a hit and run on Interstate 91 in Wethersfield, Vermont. Patricia Whitcomb, 65 of Charlestown, New Hampshire, reported to Vermont State Police that she might have been the driver who hit a man on Sunday. The 22-year-old was a senior at Norwich University and a member of the National Guard. Police said the victim was driving on the highway when his vehicle drifted across the median, crossed 2 southbound lanes of traffic, and hit the guardrail before coming to a stop in the lane of traffic. Investigators believe the man was ejected from his car during the crash. Witnesses said his body was found in the road, but before they could reach him, a gray 4-door sedan hit him and kept going. He was pronounced dead at the scene, though it's currently unclear if he died from the initial crash or hit and run. After investigation, police said they believe Whitcomb's car, a gray 2004 Honda Civic, was involved in the incident. State police said they're working with the Windsor County State's Attorney's Office to determine if any charges will be filed against Whitcombs. The crash is still under investigation. Anyone with information is asked to contact Vermont State Police, Westminster Barracks at 802 722-4600. New Hampshire officials warn of scam caller impersonating deputy asking for money. Let's take a listen to the video from WR News 9.
We're here today to tell you good folks about Cozy Cabin Rustics Furniture and Mattress Bargain Barn. We only use real logs, hardwoods, and reclaimed barn boards to build our quality furniture. And the best prices on mattresses made by Simmons and Serta. Now at 3 convenient locations. Hey, up.
The Stratford County Sheriff's Office is warning Granite Staters to not fall for a scam call asking for money. The Sheriff's Office says that the scammer impersonates a deputy and tells the victim that they have an active warrant that can be resolved for $200. But remember, no law enforcement agency will ever call you and ask for money over the phone.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. ACLU New Hampshire sues Custom and Border Protection over documents request. Let's take a listen to the video from WR News 9.
ACLU New Hampshire has filed a federal lawsuit against Customs and Border Protection challenging how long it's taken the agency to respond to a Freedom of Information Act request. The group requested documents more than 6 months ago regarding immigration enforcement methods nearly 100 miles from the border. Federal law only gives the agency 20 days to respond.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Former owner of Sports Zone indicted on 11 counts of felonious sexual assault. Let's take a listen to the video from WR News 9, Jess Moran.
If my man was wearing this, I would be all over him. I love it. I would use this on myself.
Monica, Sports Zone is a 95,000 square foot indoor facility. It hosts sports events of all different kinds for kids and adults. And now, after sexual assault allegations against its former owner, they're trying to make sure everyone knows they're safe here. The lawyer for Sports Zone in Derry is making it clear they have cut ties with former owner Dennis Reed.
While Reed was at one time the face of Sports Zone, he has not been for a year and a half, and he's not going to be.
Court documents show Reed, now 75 years old, has been indicted on 11 counts of sexual assault against a minor between 2004 and 2007. The indictments say the alleged assaults occurred when Reed was in a position of authority as the victim's coach, boss, and/or acted as a father figure. The alleged assaults happened at Reed's home, at Sports Zone, and at a movie theater. Attorney Ronald Caron says his client, Joe Goodwin, bought Sports Zone from Reed in April of 2018. And once the new owner learned of the allegations, he removed Reed from the board of directors in August of 2018.
Joe discovered these allegations for the first time in August, and he was taken aback by those allegations and acted accordingly and ensured as best he can that Mr. Reed no longer appear there.
Caron says his client sent out notices to all Sports Zone customers and wants to ensure their safety.
They are safe there, they have a good environment there, and it will continue that way for years as far as Joe Goodwin's concerned. The association of the name Sports Zone is no longer an association with Reed. It's an association with Joe Goodwin.
And attempts to reach Mr. Reed were unsuccessful. He is scheduled to appear in Rockingham Superior Court on October 4th. In Derry, Jessica Moran, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Deadly crash under investigation in Bath. Let's take a listen to the video from WMUR News 9.
Chapel Tractor has been in our family since 1955, when great-grandfather Pearlie and our grandfather George decided.
State police are investigating a deadly crash in Bath. It happened overnight on Route 112. Officials tell us only one car was involved and one person has died. Police have not released that person's name or said what may have caused the crash.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And now let's take a look at that U.S. stock market and see how the U.S. stock market closed for this Wednesday evening. And here's a look at that U.S. stock market for all of you. Your Dow Jones Industrial Average closed in the green and went up. Your Nasdaq closed in the red and went down. S&P 500 closed in the green and went up. Gold closed in the red and went down. Oil closed in the red and went down. US 10-year closed in the red and went down. Euro/USD closed in the green and went up. And VIX closed in the red and went down. Stocks close flat as Fed fails to clearly signal more rate cuts in 2019. Stocks closed little change on Wednesday after the Federal Reserve failed to signal it will cut rates again in 2019, disappointing traders. Iran's president calls missile attack a warning to Saudi. Let's take a listen to the video from ABC News.
Secretary of State Mike Pompeo on his way to Saudi Arabia this morning to meet with the Crown Prince as tensions rise with Iran in the wake of that attack on key Saudi oil facilities. Iran's leaders warning against any retaliation as chances of a meeting with President Trump are dwindling. Our chief global affairs anchor Martha Rad is tracking all the latest from Washington. Good morning, Martha.
Good morning, George. The State Department this morning is urging U.S. citizens traveling in Saudi to be more vigilant. This as Iran's president is calling the attack on the oil facilities a warning to the Saudis from Yemen to end the war there or face a wider conflict. And a U.S. forensic team in Saudi is examining a nearly intact cruise missile that missed its target and combing through debris at the oil facilities. This image from Saudi social media appears to be missile wreckage, an image that analysts are examining from one of nearly a dozen cruise missiles that targeted Saudi oil facilities. A U.S. official says the investigators have found compelling forensic evidence from those missiles and the some 20 drones that hit the facilities.
Once they get the debris of these drones that crashed in the desert, they'll be able to very precisely match things like the wings and the tail to pictures that the Iranians themselves have published of their drones.
U.S. officials believe the missiles and explosive-laden drones were launched from southwestern Iran in a complex and precise attack which struck at least 17 targets. Since President Trump pulled out of the nuclear deal last year, there have been more attacks than ever blamed on Iran, major attacks on oil tankers in the Gulf, and that highly sophisticated U.S. drone that was shot down. Trump was considering military action in retaliation last summer, but backed off. But this attack is by far the most brazen and seemingly calculated. So why would Iran risk it?
the Iranians have gotten progressively more aggressive. They've seized ships, they've shot down a U.S. drone, and now this Saudi attack. They think they can get away with it. The U.S. is more bark than bite, but they want to pressure the U.S. to come back to the negotiating table and give them relief from sanctions.
Facing pressure from even some of his political allies, President Trump insisting that his restraint in dealing with past Iranian aggression is a sign of strength that some people just don't understand. This morning, President Trump tweeting that he has instructed the Secretary of the Treasury to substantially increase sanctions on the country of Iran using one of the many options available to him. What is clear is that if Iran is proven to be behind the attack, the pressure on President Trump to do something will only increase.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And that does it for this evening edition of the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. I hope you all have a great rest of your Wednesday evening, and I'll see you back here tomorrow for another newscast. And I'll have a news report coming up in a little bit. Good night and